Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about the overall upcoming pattern and why I believe, and I'm very confident in this, that in the next few weeks, we will turn from a very warm, almost spring-like winter that we've been having for most of early January into a potentially very, very snowy and cold-filled late January, and this could extend well into February. So for many locations across the United States, after that massive attack of cold around Christmas time, after that's happened, it warmed up, and a lot of areas really haven't been seeing much activity in the form of snow or wintry weather. There obviously have been a few areas like Minneapolis saw quite a bit of snow. Minnesota, the Northern Plains, bits of the Northeast, really far inland though, southeastern Canada as well, and then obviously the West that has been absolutely hammered with rain and snow. The rest predominantly rather nothing unusual other than just very warm. This will all change. So if you live across the West and you're watching this and wondering if there's going to be more precip and snow coming in for states of California, Nevada, and what's not, you guys will continue to see snow for about the next 3 to 5 days in the form of rain, snow, depending on exactly where you live and how how cold it will be, and so mountain snow, obviously, etc. So those areas will be pretty much finishing this very active pattern, and we'll be transitioning into drier pattern across the west and a more active pattern across the east. This is something that isn't just a speculation or something I'm picking up on in the long range models. It's pretty evident. The models have been hinting at this for well over a week now. So when I say that I'm almost 100%, I'm 100% sure about this. It's just a matter of obviously which cities will see snow, which cities will see rain. This doesn't necessarily mean that you in particular watching this video will see snow. There's a good chance you will, but it depends, and I'll explain why. So let's start off again. So I won't necessarily be dividing this video into regions because I want to talk about the overall pattern for the entire United States. So I'll just be playing the GFS forward, and again I'll just address kind of regionally, kind of what I used to do in my older videos, except I'm just going to do this for, again, the whole United States, because I'm not talking about any given singular storm system. Do note, obviously, we do have activity across the west. In the next few days, another storm, yet another one moving in. Obviously, we all saw the news stories across California, the amount of flooding, rain, and damage that has gone on. So this will definitely be a break in a pattern that will be welcomed. Obviously, the rain and snow is good. There's just too much of it at this point, and yeah, too much of a good thing at once. So notice that the activity will still continue across the southwest and the west. I do want to note that across the northeast, southeastern Canada, there could be a little bit of snow moving in late Sunday and into Monday, into Martin Luther King Jr. Day, as a system kind of backspins some snow across the coastal area. So Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine could see a little bit of snow out of that. Do note we have a system that, again, moving across the lakes, breaks into the central United States, pumping, again, a lot of moisture out ahead of it. And you can see that this one's not going to have too much snow. So this is still kind of the type of storms we've been seeing. Nothing really strong like the previous one we saw that dropped snow across southeastern Canada and had that tornado outbreak across the south. That, again, the system itself wasn't too strong. It was large, it was impactful, but it wasn't really a powerful system in terms of the winds around it or the millibars, and the size was just something that was a little bit notable about it. This first one this week, again, Minneapolis, Minnesota, further north, most likely Duluth, seeing some snow, nothing incredible. There will be a little bit of rain towards the south. So this system right here through midweek is still part of, I guess, the old pattern. However, notice that as I put this in, this new system that we see is already different. We see snow much further south across areas like Kansas. We see this low pressure not zoom way further towards the north, and what we do see is a lot more cold air moving in. The most, I would say, resounding feature of the pattern that we've been dealing with is the lack of cold air, right? And it was just very, very warm. The cold air was way up in Canada, and yeah, it was hard to come by a day here in my area that was in the night below 25 degrees, which for January is rather unusual, to say the least. So notice Iowa, Illinois, this upcoming week, we may see some snow out of that. Notice across Indiana, Kentucky, if you're watching this across the southeast, you may think this new pattern is just going to bring more rain. Well, with this individual storm, yes, but this isn't just one storm. There's going to be probably a handful of storms, if not potentially in the double digits. Yes, 10, 11 systems. It's going to be a lot. The pattern is not going to get any less active on the large scale. maybe for certain areas, like again, the west. Do note we do have another area that moves through the west at this time. Another feature that's very noticeable, obviously, is that the moisture flow from the Pacific gets cut off. We see a much more of a troughing develop across the west, and look, we see this system that potentially brings snow across the Midwest, weaken into the Northeast, so this isn't going to produce a ton of snow for the Northeast. Still some additional amounts for Toronto, potentially Detroit, and inland Northeast as this thing moves away. What we see in the wake of this system isn't really necessarily anything too impressive. We don't see barbaric cold air, but we don't see warm temperatures like we've been seeing. They're still going to be running above average for this time of the year, but it's still going to be enough to produce snow across much more areas than what we have been seeing. I mean, goodness, my area here in northern Illinois could be seeing thunderstorms on Tuesday. That's going to be kind of the ending of that as we get into late January. So notice that we have another system that potentially slides across the south. I'm not going to go into details about these systems because this is too far out, but all models show continued activity. So notice the GFS shows the system bringing snow further south now. You can see, so with the first one, maybe you saw rain. Maybe with this one, you're not seeing anything. Maybe with this one, you're seeing snow. You can see Ohio, Pennsylvania, further south, seeing some snowfall. Again, maybe not incredibly sized system, still a widespread swath if this were to occur, around 6 to 10 inches. So, some areas that would be impacted by this really haven't even seen snow at all, like Ohio, Pennsylvania, of any significant note. So that's something you have to watch for. Again, this is only, at this point, a week from right now. Do note we see more activity, not from the Pacific with that warm air. Again, you folks across the west are going to get that cutoff. So it's going to go into more of a classic La Nina pattern. And despite there being, a drought at this point, that drier pattern is very welcome, and that it's going to happen. So do note that in the long range now, the GFS continues showing another system. So you can see this time, Ohio, Pennsylvania, see rain potentially transitioning into snow. Again, I'm not going to go into details. That would be very silly and foolish because of how far out it is. What I'm trying to show you is that with each system, there's more snow, and the colder air gets further south and gets more and more intense. Notice there's another one that starts developing in the long range. So it looks as if, again, at least into late January to early February, this pattern will continue. And based on a long-range model guidance, this could continue well into February. So that is the GFS. I'll show you that it has been consistent with this for a few days. Let me go back to yesterday and to show you that it's been continuously showing this pattern change. Again, there's that system that will be occurring midweek. There's still more of the northerly type that we've been seeing, but behind it, there's a little cool air. You can see the GFS didn't really do much with that midweek system yesterday at this time. Again, it has since kind of revamped its potential threats there. I'll be obviously making separate videos about each one of these storms as they come in time, but for now I just want to show you this pattern, and you can see now the storms are further south, snow further south as well. Not as much activity for the west. You can see there's still some, and again more cold air. So you can see that yesterday it was a bit less with that, not as aggressive with that cold air as it is with this most recent models. Yesterday at noon you could see it also showed a similar kind of pattern breaking out. Again, snow further south, more of these southern sliders, right? None of these intense storms that were hitting the west. So that's probably the most noticeable change. If you look at models like the Canadian, another decent model I like to look at, you can see again for now activity across the west. Those weak systems, very classic of what we have been seeing. Again, this will be falling through, and you can see it's going to fall apart, and that's exactly what it does. And there we have that stronger system potentially again midweek this week. And the Canadian, you can see, keeps it pretty strong, delivering some snow and rain towards the north and east here. So, areas like the south, southeast, you guys will be continuously seeing most likely warmer temperatures. Maybe not compared to average, just warmer temperatures. But I do want to note right now, Florida is under a lot of freeze warnings and freeze watches. So there will be some cold shots that sneak in. The west, if you live across the northwest and west, predominant, main form is you guys will be drying out for the most part. Maybe areas like eastern Montana, eastern Wyoming that haven't been really impacted too significantly by this past recent pattern in the ways like California has. You guys may see an uptick in precipitation relative to what you've been seeing. In an essentially United States, more fluctuations of warm and cold, but forget about the 50s and 60s now, well into Wisconsin, Illinois. It's going to get a lot colder, and you can see the Canadian redevelops another potential really significant system further on. So this pattern will necessarily favor maybe the coastal cities of the Northeast, at least for now. You can see if they do come and snow across the Northeast, like some of the systems that GFS is showing will be further inland. Nonetheless, though, this could change quickly. Again, you can see there's that little system that will be bringing some snow to areas like Boston, Providence, into this upcoming Monday and Tuesday, but that's not really going to be, again, anything incredible. Do notice there's that first system right for this week, already a bit further south with its track. Still rain for most areas that should be seeing snow this time of the year. And do notice that across the southwest, we have one of those systems sneak through. And then Wednesday, Thursday, very similar track to what the GFS shows. The European develops this snow system for, so, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin could finally be seeing some decent snowfall into Michigan. And you could see maybe, again, into the northeast as well. But, again, more of a rain-snow mix there. However, again, the European, just like the Canadian, develops another system further south. And, we'll have to see what it does with this system. Maybe it takes it more coastally. Maybe it takes it more inland. We'll have to see. But a lot more cold air available towards the north. And overall, much more of a cooler pattern. And again, we've seen this coming for a while now. It's just that it took a little longer for this to, form than previously thought. And look at this. As the European is showing a further out model graphic here, we see a system further towards the south, cold air moving in here. It's a perfect setup for a nor'easter if this were to go out a bit further. So again, this thing is still obviously unclear what cities will see the most, but it's definitely a change, a noticeable one. And the biggest part I would say that I'm very confident in is, a lot more cold air. There will be a lot more cold air for the majority of the United States here. And some areas will see a little bit warmer, but again, that's a minority and not the majority here. And you can see that compared to average, what we have been seeing is very warm. You can see these colors, almost record highs, fueling some of that severe weather and some of those historic rains across California. And this will continue for at least the next few days, but we'll start seeing again, especially following that first midweek storm on Thursday and Friday, a cool off across the United States. And then that will continue into January 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. You can see the models gain more and more confidence. And it's stubborn. That cold air, once it arrives, it could hang around for quite a while. Some warm air obviously potentially mixing in. Maybe the pattern slightly trying to break there into February. But we'll just have to wait and see on what the models show for that. Let's go out to click on another ensemble one here. So this is the GEFS. I should have probably mentioned this. This is a model of groups that just, if you look at them, they give you a nice average look of what's maybe coming. Again, I think it's based off of 31 individual models that are laid over each other. And you can see that they do show a lot of warmth in the short term, and then you can see it show that cold. Some of these colors are pretty dark, especially for how far out this is. So that could indicate that we could be seeing some substantial cold. Do note in the long range, maybe some stronger signs of warming up across the east, but you know what that means. Probably some massive storms in between those baroclinic zones, wherever they do set up. And again, you can see that from yesterday's model run, the cold, unlike the one I just showed you, stays along for a lot longer. For the near term, basically, it's going to be cold, much colder than it was, at least through the end of January. And into February, it's a bit more of a question mark, but I doubt we'll be seeing such a return as what we've been seeing to the incredibly warm temperatures. So that is that, kind of what I wanted to show you. If you take a look at the GFS model from its let's take a look at its noon model run, show you what the snowfall amounts look like just from this. And you can see, boom, right there, a lot of areas picking up snow, Missouri, Illinois, many areas here. If you look at the 18 one, again, it's shifted, it's changed, but overall still very snowy pattern for a good portion of the United States. Much further south than anything we've been seeing, and I believe that will be the case as we push this into the long range. European, just through 240 hours, already a lot more snow than what we've been seeing, and some areas, my area has seen like 4 inches this winter, so very small. If the European's right, we could quickly add up those amounts. So we'll have to wait and see, folks. Again, overall, western United States drying out. Central United States getting in more activity with snow and cold further south. The northeast, also more activity, not necessarily in a form of snow, but it's a much greater chance of seeing that than what we've been seeing for the past few weeks. So that is that. I could show you the climate model. This is one that I don't really use that much. I use it sometimes to see the general picture, maybe cold, snow, so kind of what I'm talking about here, a long-range pattern, so that's why I feel it's appropriate to show you here. Again, short-term warmth, and in the long-term, you can see it starts showing more of those cool attacks. Again, some of this cold air could be pretty incredible, so we'll have to, keep an eye on that as well. You can see hinting here at some of these anomalies being not negative 33, below zero, but the anomaly compared to what's normal. So that would bring temperatures here probably close to 10 to 20 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. And yeah, again, there will be obviously probably some warm sprouts of air, especially if a system tracks further north, but the cold air will never be far, as you can see right there. So I have a feeling January and February might be a lot more interesting than we've been seeing for the past 3 weeks. Alright, that's basically it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye.